Is it that we don't have those policies in place when it comes to urban planning? Or we have them, or we're just deliberately flouting them and ignoring them?
Okay, the policies, I cannot say they are not there.
Okay.
But they need someone to make them happen.
Yeah, so it's an issue of enforcement. Hi, I'm Dr. Song Webu. Welcome to the Purple Diaries, the Policy Innovation Center's podcast series that takes a deep dive into the conversations and dialogues that happened at the Gender and Inclusion Summit 2025. Over the course of this podcast series, I'll be sitting down with some really amazing individuals to talk about the future of sustainable development and really challenge the way that we see the world. So join the conversation, and if you like what you hear, leave us a comment, share, subscribe, and see you soon. Thank you. Really quickly, we'll jump right into our questions for today. But before we start, would you like to introduce yourself to our viewers?
Of course, I will. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Kenneth Echiche. Just to add to it, that I'm a disability and gender advocate, and I'm a public commentator on social issues. I would like to stop there and with so that I don't bore you with more introductions.
Never
and
ever a boring time with you. Never a boring time with you. Okay, so my first question for you today is: what are the gaps or issues when it comes to the transportation system in Abuja, especially for persons with disabilities?
Okay, so first of all, let me establish that movement or mobility is synonymous to human being. Human beings, we are by nature are supposed to move from one place to another. And that means that persons with disabilities are also in this category, meaning that they can move, they should move from one place to another in search of job, in search of food, in search of, in fact, it's by human nature to move. So if persons with disability are also human beings that should move, then the fact that they are moving, there are some things, channels in which they should aid them to move. And then if we not say that, we not discover that no, not just the channels now, there are issues in their own movement because they are special type of persons. They are special beings. And then because they are special beings does not mean that their movement should be restricted.
Yeah.
So that is why they want to move. We now discover that there are a lot of issues therein. Let's take, for instance, there are over 6 clusters of persons with disability, and we all have our different mobility challenges. Let's take, for instance, a wheelchair user. You heard me, I say wheelchair user, meaning somebody who cannot walk and is on wheelchair. I did not use the word physically challenged. I did not use the word cripple because those are outdated. You can hear me, I said wheelchair user. And with that, you understand that this person has problem with his lower limbs and could not make him to stand, either because of spinal cord injuries or because of polio or one thing or the other. Now, let's take, for instance, a person who is a wheelchair user. He has his own mobility challenge, which is, he needs an aid to move to jump into a car, a moving car, and all that. And then the accessibility, he needs to enter one place or the other. Are there ramps available for the person to move? So that's his own mobility gap there. And then a person who cannot see, like myself, as a visually impaired person. Now, my challenge here is that I am somebody that uses the white cane. The white cane is what aid me to move, and it's not in any way substitute the sight. It's only guiding you from hurting yourself to objects. So when sometimes you see people who are using white cane, and you don't think that the white cane is their eyes, it sees for them. The white cane does not see for you.
It's an aid.
It's just an aid.
Yeah. It
just aids you. Oh, there's an object in front of you, and so the white cane protects you from all that. Now, so if I am moving now to one place to another, my mobility issue will be that I need someone, a physical person, who is going to to guide me and say, look, there is a gutter because the white king cannot talk. The white king cannot speak. So he wouldn't tell me, oh, there is a dish somewhere here. It wouldn't tell me that. And so there's possibility that I can still fall into a gutter even with a white king. Therefore, my mobility issue here, I'm going to require a person who is going to be with me to guide me to so you need to bend, you need to stand, you need to step down, you need to, all those kind of areas. Now, I've mentioned two categories of persons with disability. What about those who cannot hear? That is, we call them the hearing impaired individuals. Now, what is their own? They need signages. If a city is well mapped and constructed, a person who cannot hear should be able to move independently from one place to another, because he sees that, oh, this is, if I move from here to there, it's marked, so and so A, B. I don't want to mention names of places in order not to give importance to them. But let me say, there is a shopping mall here. There should be a signage for a person who cannot hear to be able to look at it and direct him to wherever he is going to. So, and then we move to other category of persons with disabilities, like the psychosocial, those with mental issues, and all that. So this will need human beings to aid and to advise, to be with them and all that. Now, these are the things. Now, I've mentioned this category with their various transportation challenges. Now, the gaps therein is that the society has made a barrier for them. The constructions, they are social constructs. Let me even start from social construct. What even makes somebody a person with disability? It is not the disability, but it is the barrier.
Okay.
Now, what do I mean by this? I want to move, I cannot move. It is not because I can't see, but it is because there's an impediment that the society has put in place. That is why I cannot move. For instance, there are no pathway for me to walk. In a developed society, there should, whenever a construction is taking place, there is a consideration that a person who cannot see will walk through this road. Therefore, there should be a pathway for a person who cannot see. In Nigeria, you don't have that. Now, it is that absence of pathway that has made me a blind person, not the fact that I cannot see. If those things were put in place that I can move independently, I don't think you will see the visual impairment in me. You won't see, in as much as I can do my thing on my own independently, there's no disability. The disability only comes when there is a barrier.
This is deep.
That's it.
Deep. Yeah.
So it is the society that makes a person with disability to be called a person with disability. If you had put an accessible pathway for a wheelchair user who can go into a hotel, go into a hospital, he rolls his wheelchair conveniently, or he wants to enter a bus and there is a ramp that he draw down a ramp, he rolls his wheelchair into the bus conveniently, there is no disability. It is when he wants to enter a bus and then he now require gigantic men who may come and lift him, which is indignifying. You need someone to come and lift him from his wheelchair into a bus. That is when there is a disability. But if those provisions were made for him to just conveniently roll his wheelchair into a bus and then goes to wherever he's going, then there is no disability. And therefore, I give you a new definition of disability at this moment. Disability hereby means impairment versus barrier equals to disability.
So if I hear what you're saying correctly, the problem is not with the persons with disabilities.
Yes.
The problem is with our lack of planning, really.
Good. You are very correct.
Right?
Yes.
That the moment we are intentional about the way in which we plan and even think about, you mentioned construction, right?
Good.
And remove those barriers, then the disability, what we call a disability in quotes, disappears.
It disappears. Really. As simple as that. So that's why I've said it is impairment versus barrier. That's what is equals to disability. Now, if you remove impairments in between and leave the impairment and disability, you see that there is no disability. It is the barrier that is actually what makes it a disability. So even in the transport system, like we have mentioned, if those things are removed, like I have already said, because those are the issues, when we want to move around, the barriers are the issues. Okay, for instance, now, in the city of Abuja, it's no longer a story or news that the manholes and drainages have been removed by scavengers.
By vandals, yes.
Now, I want to walk alone. Even in a road, in a place where it seems familiar, I'm scared because I may fall into those manholes.
Yeah.
Now, if those things were properly done, I could use my white skin, navigate my way around my area confidently. So the part here is that government and policymakers really need to come to a round table.
And citizens as well.
Yes, and the
Yeah.
citizens too, because it like
They're the ones vandalizing the
because they're the ones
manholes.
vandalizing.
Yeah.
And so there need to be a holistic kind of sensitization. While the policymakers are sitting down to take the decisions and all that, then there should be another arm of it, which is the sensitization of the public and telling them that, look, don't vandalizing this thing alone. Look at to the extent it's good. If not that I'm explaining this to you, it may not cut your attention.
And you are
that
right.
persons with disability are bearing the brunt
You are
of this
completely
in more dangerous dimension.
Because
Imagine me.
So I often see those manholes, and what
Good.
comes to my mind is, Nigerians, why can't we even allow things to be? But it never occurred to me that is actually a life-threatening situation
That's it.
for a person with disabilities.
Visual impairment, especially.
Yeah.
So you just imagine me fall into that, and then my leg got broken, and then they will now say, and I have what is called a double jeopardy.
Double jeopardy.
So you now see, I can walk, I cannot walk, I cannot say. Just because of someone's inaction
Or greed.
or greed. And so these are the gaps that we witness. And then the question is, sometimes, how do you bring this to the attention of the powers that be or those that are in charge when they are not really seeing it? Now, disability is when you view things from my own perspective.
Okay.
Just like you have said, you just may not have looked at it as, how if the manholes are here, or maybe water, it's really not cut into you, but it's when you take a second thought. And so, how about Kenneth, who cannot see, passing through here?
Yeah.
Oh, I have a friend called Kenneth, he can't see, and he walks around this place. Imagine him walking through here. What will happen to him? Now, if policymakers come to this realization that persons with disabilities who are moving around, because the environment is made for everybody.
Yes.
The truth of the matter is that sometimes when they make policies, we are not being considered from the conception period. If we are part of the conceptualization of policies and we bring this to their attention, I'm sure they would do something much better, because you have heard. But when they sit in their porch offices and take up decisions, barbing our own hair in our absence, and that's why we say in the disability advocacy now, we tell people that there is nothing about us without us. You cannot design, you cannot say things, policies, decisions for persons with disability
And they're
without
not at the
involving
table.
them.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
So that would be absolutely wrong. And so at every time we must be brought to the decision table. Ask, what is your problem? Let me say my problem. Don't assume for me. Because that is where we are getting it wrong. And so if we policymakers begin to sit down with persons with disability, put on their thinking cap and go more deeper and get all stakeholders into the table before taking a decision, I think they will be able to make better. And that is why the gap is widening. I mean, the gap is widening because if the ones they have constructed, they have not taken persons with disability, they are constructing more without even taking us into account. Unlike in the developed society where you need a disability compliance certification for every construction you want to do. In Nigeria, you can wake up from one side of your bed and just go into, once you just get the necessary documentation from the urban planning or whatever, you construct a building without a ramp, without a lift, and, locking out persons with disability from accessing those places.
So, quick question. Let me interrupt you. And I'm glad you went in that direction.
Okay.
My immediate question, or what immediately springs to mind is it that we don't have those policies in place when it comes to urban planning, or we have them, or we're just deliberately flouting them and ignoring them?
Okay, the policies, I cannot say they are not there.
Okay.
But they need someone to make them happen.
Yeah, so it's an issue of enforcement.
It's an issue of enforcement.
Okay.
It's an issue. So if there is a deliberate activity to enforce the policy, I think it's going to help. But I must say here, there is an absence of what I will refer to a smart city policy for persons with disability. So it's an eye-opener for Policy Innovation Center like yours, to begin to think of coming up, sponsoring a policy for persons with, I'm not saying the general policy now. I'm saying that let there be what we call smart city policy for persons with disability. This will integrate issue of transportation, especially. We'll be able to come to the round table, we list out the various clusters who have these issues, and then we'll tell you our gaps, our challenges rather, and they are imputed into this policy and made available to the government or those in charge of urban planning.
Excellent points made. So we've talked a lot about the challenges, and I know that as you went along, you had already begun to talk about the possible solutions. But I would like to move from just outlining those challenges to really drilling down on how, when it comes to mobility planning, right? How do we incorporate those voices? Because you had rightly said that you cannot create something for us when we are not at the table.
Yes.
You didn't ask us, what do we need?
Good.
And you shouldn't assume. So my question to you will be then, how do we make sure that the voices of persons with disabilities are taken into account in restructuring this transportation system?
First, dignity for their existence.
Okay.
Respect for the human nature or the humanness of a person with disability. First of all, see him as a human being and as a person that deserves all attention.
And
By
respect.
the time and respect. If you take him or her like that, then you begin to come, okay, if this person is equal, I look at him as myself. What do I do to make things better for him? And that takes me back to what I said, bring them to the decision
table. From the beginning.
From the beginning, from the very onset. The moment you are coming up with that decision, we need to make this. We need to construct a bridge here. As I speak to you in the city of Abuja where I stay, there is no bridge. The only two pedestrian bridges that a person with wheelchair can confidently roll his wheelchair on top of the bridge and cross to the other side. Only two. Imagine how many pedestrian bridges we have in Abuja. So that tells, now if a person with disability is at the other end and wants to cross, there is no plan for him. And so these are the planning, this is what we are talking about. But if this person was called, was invited to the decision table, he should be able to say, this is what I want, this is how it should be. You see, let me tell you, the truth of the matter that some people take when they see a person with disability as there's a lot of obnoxious beliefs about that. It's just their problem. You look at it as just their own problem. Someone says it's their punishment. Someone says it's wickedness. Someone say, there are a whole lot of assumptions and belief systems about them. So until when it gets closer to you, I keep telling people, I say, see, the difference between a person with disability and a non-person with disability is a thin line.
Yep.
As long as you're on the road every day, you are a step closer to becoming a person with disability.
Like you never know.
And that can happen at any second. Now, I keep telling people, see, in climate advocacy, we tell people that, look, blessed are those elders who plant trees which they never stay under the shade. The same thing I say, how great is that man or woman or policy maker that makes policies that he or she might not benefit from them?
But I guess in order to do that, you need to have empathy and
Yeah.
the ability to put yourself in another person's shoes,
That's
right?
it. That's what I've said earlier. Put them in your own shoes. Now, I speak to you. I'm currently counseling a bank manager who lost his sight recently.
Oh, wow.
A bank manager. Now, let me tell you a sad story. We are talking of mobility planning, but I'm going to dive into that because it's part of the things we are talking about. We took advocacy to the bank, and we're like, hey, banks, your app you are developing is not accessible to a person with visual impairment. Because I need to also, before you come up with anything, think of this segment of persons.
Yeah.
Now, the app you developed, it's not accessible. My phone cannot access it because the talking software, the speech software in my phone cannot speak to your app. It's not compatible. We make all this advocacy. They just look at it, okay, fine, we'll think about that, and never did.
Nothing ever happened.
Now, today, is the same person, he keep asking me a question. This bank manager, how do you make your transactions? How do you independently do your transactions? But this is what we took to the banks. In fact, this advocacy took us even up to the Central Bank of Nigeria and to other commercial banks, and this advocacy is still on. Because for you must have everything you are doing. There should be inclusivity.
Yes, from the beginning.
I told people, I said, look, I said, the phone you are using, I can use the same phone with you. There is no phone for the blind. Because the man who was making this phone had a blind person in his mind. And that is why there's what we call accessibility in every phone. Everybody, if you go into your phone, turn into your phone, you see accessibility. And you get into it, you see a talk back. That talk back, if you try to on it, it will tell you it is for low and visually impaired people.
Okay, so this wonderful. It's always a pleasure talking with you.
Right, that's
because
right.
I always say that, I learn every day, when you open up your mouth.
That's right. That's right.
Let's quickly go to the next question, which is going to be my last question, actually. You've already kind of alluded to it in some way, but I really want to give you a moment to, in 1 minute, can we talk about what key partnerships or innovations should be happening right now, right?
Yes.
To bridge the mobility gap, especially for persons with disabilities, right? So we've talked about the challenges.
Yes.
We've talked about the need for empathy to put, yourself in other people's shoes. We've talked about being intentional when it comes to urban planning.
Good.
We've talked about having persons with disability at the table from the very beginning when you begin to plan whatever it is you're planning, right?
Yeah, correct.
But now, can we talk about when we now come to the point where we're like, okay, we realize that there's a need for us to do this. What are those partnerships? Who and who need to come together? Who should be talking to who? And what innovations need to be happening, right?
Yes.
In bridging this gap.
Okay, so firstly, I'll start from the innovation before looking at those who are supposed to be partnering with this. Now, first of all, I think there should be a data collection of persons with disability within an urban area. Now, with that, it could be able to tell us where they stay, where we have them predominantly, or the area, the route in which they apply the routes. Now, if we now get that, then we should be able to, roll out buses. When the buses are being rolled out, we'll be able to say, persons with disability come from this area more. And so there should be a ramp in this particular bus.
Okay.
From that. I'm talking of immediate thing which can be done with less expenses, with less costs. Data collection. Ramps in all buses. And then let there be a kind of a feedback center where a person with disability can easily report issues he faces on the road.
So feedback loops,
yes,
essentially.
Yes. Let that be, because like we have said, a lot of attitudinal issues also exist on the road. Person with disability, a driver just sees you standing as a person with disability, and then he looks at you and zoom off. because he doesn't have the time to come down, assist you carry your wheelchair into the car, and tells you you are wasting his time. So therefore, quickly, we must do a sensitization of the real transport workers.
True.
And then NOA must carry the message. National Orientation Agency must carry the message in all media outfits and say, look, persons with disability who are applying the rule should be treated with dignity, who should be respected, should be aided, should be assisted in any way that you can to help them go to wherever they are going. Instead of asking them, where are you going? Those are some annoying questions that you hear on the road. Somebody will say, where are you going? And you ask, where are you also going? Sometimes I ask you, where are you going? So if we begin to bring this kind of innovations, and then you begin to talk of partners like you have to, like the Policy Innovation Center that is an affiliate of NESG. Thank you. So like you can champion this cause.
Okay.
Yes, this Innovation Center, Policy Innovation Center can champion this cause by coming up with this innovative idea in conjunction with person with disability. We must be brought to the table to say, oh, this is what we are looking for. And so if they champion this particular policy and sell it to the government, and then government acts on it, and then serve as a watchdog, not just developing a policy and receiving those at the shelves, but helping governments to see that they follow this. But don't even forget that there is a Disability Act in Nigeria, which has already existed for close to 7 years right now. And that Disability Act mandates that all public buildings and public places should be remodeled to accommodate persons with disability. It is on this I would like to say that persons with disability, all public structures should be remodeled as a matter of urgency. Even the roads should be remodeled to be able to accommodate the interests and the concerns of persons with disability. It's never too late to do the right thing. And I'm going to add here and say that, look, the moment we start treating persons with disability, not by the size of the wheelchair they sit on, not by the length of the white cane, not by the dramatic display of sign language in which our deaf brothers use, but we treat them by the content of their heart and brain, then a society can be said to be developed.
Thank you so very much. I completely agree with you because, like you rightly said, we never know. It could be anybody.
That's right.
It could be able today and, tomorrow the person could become a person with disability. So there is need for empathy. And I agree with you that there is a need for sensitization, for awareness, for public awareness, and for everybody to play their parts make those partnerships happen. So thank you very much. Always a pleasure talking with you.
My time is up?
Yes.
I wish I could.
Unfortunately, I wish I could go on. I learn every time you're with us. But thank you very much.
Right,
it's been a pleasure talking with you.
I appreciate it.